What's up, Buff Nation?
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. That's a go. Now that's a go.
Today we've got several great news stories for you, so we're going to make like an expensive bourbon and try to be smooth with it. Our main story today is about ESPN disrespecting Coach Prime by not listening to his very own words. There's been a lot of talk about Shedeur Sanders possibly coming back, possibly going pro, but we don't really need to speculate there any longer. So grab your favorite bottle, sit back, and get ready because this is the prime time for college football. Now, our main story today is about ESPN disrespecting Coach Prime yet again. Recently, in an article that came out, ESPN started talking about potential Heisman contenders. And while some of this is very nice, and we'll talk about that in just a moment, here's what they said. Sanders is considered a potential first-round pick in the NFL draft, so it's unclear whether he'll return to play for his father, Deion, for another season. Sanders showed plenty of guts playing behind a dreadful offensive line this past season, throwing for 3,230 yards with 27 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. If he comes back to school and the Buffaloes can cobble together some protection, he might contend for the Heisman Trophy and be the number 1 pick in the NFL draft. Now, a lot of that sounds nice, and I will say ESPN said some positive things there about Shedeur from both a first-round pick status, also into a Heisman Trophy candidate status. But there were some undercutting things there as well. Now, here's what Coach Prime has said about his son returning. He said, oh yeah, he most definitely will be returning. He just needs some rest and to heal up a little bit because he took a tremendous beating, and that provoked some things in me to do some things differently because the beating that he took, sometimes people forget that I'm not only his coach, but that's my son. So I understand that's not how it's supposed to go. Coach Prime has repeated time and time and time again that Shedeur would be returning. I don't know why there's so much doubt about this. I don't know why ESPN isn't just not listening to his words and what's been said, or not even just using the little bit of logic that they have. This is a very, very deep quarterback class, and there were a lot of NFL guys going to the league. Does it behoove Shedeur to leave after kind of a lackluster season due to the protection? That's not a shot at Shedeur at all, but wouldn't it be better for Shedeur to come back and play behind a better offensive line, put up more and better numbers against probably weaker competition, and look even better this upcoming season? Well, obviously. How ESPN didn't come to that conclusion on their own without just hearing from Deion Sanders is kind of mind-blowing to me. But this question around, can he cobble together an offensive line? Also a little bit disrespectful. Not only do they not listen to Prime's own words, they have no faith in his ability to build an offensive line, which, to be fair to them, that was written before what we've seen has been done. But now that everything has come to light and you see the offensive line that he is putting together, getting the number 1 offensive tackle in the country, we've talked plenty about Jordan Seaton, and then several other transfers to commit to the Buffs, you understand that this is going to be a rebuilt offensive line that should be pretty good for the Buffs this year. You've got to get them to gel. You've got to get them to be on the same page. But ESPN is, first of all, not listening to Prime's own words, and second of all, doubting that he could build an offensive line, which he's proven them wrong on both of those things. Now, ESPN does a lot of things for clicks, and they do a lot of things to try and get you to feed into what they say and do. They try to have backhanded compliments, like he might be able to be a Heisman Trophy contender. He might be able to go number 1 in the draft. But they don't listen to what Coach Prime says. They have no faith that he can actually get an offensive line built and get all of that done. It was so obvious that Shedeur was going to come back. And again, they said some nice things. Could he compete for the Heisman? I think so. We've talked about this a ton. Give me just a moment and we'll get back to that. But I do want to tell you guys something that's new and exciting and hopefully you'll enjoy. We just recently lost a Patreon page. And a lot of you guys may say, well, what is that? What is a Patreon page? Patreon is a platform that you can go and support your favorite creators, much like YouTube memberships on here. However, it's much more beneficial for not only you, but for us. With a Patreon membership, you not only show your support for this channel, we also are going to give you access to a college football primetime community where you can interact with other people. You guys comment all the time, and I appreciate chatting with you in the comments. One thing that's really hard to do is to go back and forth so much on that and have really good dialogue and really good conversation. So I wanted to give you a place where we could all interact together, and you can get access to that by going to patreon.com/primetime for college football. I'll put a link down in the description. If you want to support the channel, if you want to be part of the community that we're building, go sign up for that. You can sign up for as little as a cost of a cup of coffee. Go check it out. Again, it's patreon.com/primetime for college football. We really don't try and sell you on a lot of things. We're not trying to make it super expensive or super crazy for you to join. Some of you have asked how you could support the channel. Some of you have asked how you could be part of the community. And so we created this today. Hopefully you'll like it. If you have questions about it, you can certainly shoot us a message on there. You can also comment below, and we'll do our best to answer it. I'll put a link in the description. It'll be the very first thing there. Go check it out and support us over there. Now, again, some nice things were said by ESPN. We've talked about Shedeur potentially being a Heisman Trophy candidate next year. Heck, he was this year to start the year when Colorado got off to such a hot start. He had more passing yards than anybody that first month of the season. If he could have sustained and if Colorado would have kept winning, he certainly would have been in the conversation. You look at the guy who won the thing this year, Jaden Daniels. It has often been thought that you needed to go undefeated to win the Heisman. I don't think that that's the case anymore. Jaden Daniels won the thing with 3 losses. In fact, one of those losses being a blowout loss to Florida State to start the year. And he was able to battle his way back and have enough Heisman Trophy moments. He ran for about 4 million yards against Florida to end up taking home the trophy. Could Shedeur win it with a 9-3 season? Could Shedeur win it with a 10-2 season, 8-4, somewhere in there? I think so. Needs to stay healthy, needs to stay upright, needs to stay consistent, needs to cut back on the sacks a little bit. But with an offensive line that's revamped and skill players like McCaskill, which we talked about yesterday, he certainly can do that. What about number 1 overall pick? That's lofty praise. And as much as I'm getting on ESPN for their article and the way that they portray Coach Prime at times, him going number 1 overall would be the greatest recruiting tool and the greatest sale that Coach Prime could ever have. Outside of the fact that he's a Hall of Famer and certainly had his own incredible career. But to go from where Shedeur came out of school and take him to the number 1 overall pick would be remarkable. Is that possible? Again, he's got to show it. He's got to continue to develop. He's got to continue to get better. If he wins the Heisman Trophy, he's going first round. There's no question about that. If he stays healthy the whole year and he's not going into the NFL draft process banged up and beat up, absolutely he could do that. Now, what happens between now and next December and then even the further in the following April when the draft happens? Well, there's a lot to be determined. There's 16 months between now and then. There's a lot that we're going to find out. But it all starts now with what Coach Prime is doing to upgrade the roster and upgrade the talent around him. I think the defense has taken some steps. The offense certainly should be better this year. The offensive line is going to make that thing click and go at a rate that I don't think any of us were expecting. But it's all in Shedeur's lap. It's all right there for them. Now, we talked about this. How is Coach Prime, how is Deion Sanders going to make ESPN pay for the way that they portray him? If you guys thought that Deion Sanders was a threat to ESPN last year with how they humble leadership goes, you have not seen anything yet. Just wait until they're playing that Big 12 schedule with more games where people and when people can watch them. The Pac-12 has notoriously always been the Pac-12 after dark. That's when their games get played most of the time. And what do you think it's going to look like when Coach Prime is getting to play some of those games in more daylight hours, more noontime and 3 p.m. kickoffs than he played at all last year? It's going to be remarkable. And do not be surprised if Colorado's team next year is the number 1 viewed team in the country. Now, they'll need to keep winning to continue that. They will need to keep winning and can't go on a 4 or 5 game skid like they did this year for that to happen. But Coach Prime always proves the doubters wrong. He always proves those who don't listen to him and who twist his words and who just don't respect his ability to put together an offensive line or put together a roster. He always ends up proving them wrong. And so will he do that in this case, in this scenario as well? I'm certainly not betting against him. We didn't pick against him one time this year. We didn't hit on every pick because we rode with Coach Prime. We rode with our heart over our heads. But this is a pretty easy bet for me. Do you not think that Colorado will be a top 5 viewed team next year? I certainly do. And I think they've got a great chance to be number 1. They've got to win more games. They've got to continue to capitalize on the momentum. but they're going to play more games in a better time slot. More of you are going to tune in. Coach Prime's Army is going to continue to grow. We're going to have more people watching these videos. We're going to have more people that join the Patreon. We're going to have more people that continue to raise the viewership. And that is going to be remarkable to watch next season. They will not be writing articles next season doubting Coach Prime. They will not be writing articles questioning his words or his abilities. Hey, again, if you want to support the channel, it's patreon.com/primetime for college football. You can go check it out. Again, link is in the description. If you have questions about it, hit the comments. Love to chat with you. Love you guys for your support. Getting close to the new year. We're going to keep this thing trucking right along. Thank you guys, as always, for watching the Prime Time for college football.